Do 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 do. Let's see. Let's let the live get out there. Start a little bit. Do do do. Let's check on everything. Make sure that it's up. Hopefully, chat is okay. Looks like everything is good. Let's see. It's been pretty good not having trolls in the last few days, right? Hopefully everybody is doing well. Um let's see. Am I missing something? There we go. Yep, it had closed. And greetings, Morgan. I hope you are feeling well. I'm I am still sick, still recovering, but we're getting there. I've been writing some short stories, been working on my book, which is very close to actually being ready to publish. That might happen as like early as next week, so that's exciting. Let's just go full camera for a minute. There we go. And uh, goodbye, text box. Don't need you anymore, text box. And I don't know. I've been working a lot. I write all the time when I'm not doing YouTube. That's what I'm doing. I'm reading or I'm writing. And I have a fantasy book that I've been working on for a while now, but it's gone through like a lot of edits. And yeah, you're you're doing great now that you're here in the chat with me. Well, we'll see about that when we start getting to the news and what we've got to cover today, because it's a doozy. Uh yeah, I hope that I feel better as well. I know I still sound sick. I still have an occasional cough. But we're going to get through it in the end. We'll beat this thing and continue on stronger than ever, as long as and I'll keep doing these streams Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. And we'll see what happens. But I've been looking to get this book published. I've been working on for a while. It is a very queer LGBT heroic fantasy story. If you enjoy like Pathfinder, if you like D&D, if you like R.A. Salvatore, if you like Jim Butcher's books, then I think that you would enjoy my story as well. I I very much like sword and sorcery. I like, heroic action and that type of thing. And I think that we definitely need more stories that include trans characters and LGBT characters. And every single one of my characters in the story, like all of the main characters, are one stripe of LGBT or another. I feel like within fantasy and a lot of, action books and in general, there's a lack of representation when it comes to like authentic LGBT characters, and I hope to remedy that. My goal is to be a very prolific writer. Like I know it's ambitious, but I want to be known as like one of the most prolific fantasy writers ever. And I've written several novels over the last several years. I'm just getting ready to publish my first, and I will hopefully be launching a website, and I'll keep y'all updated on that. If you like fantasy, if you like heroic adventure and that type of thing, or friends who do, friends who play D&D, or that read a lot of those types of things and stories that focus on LGBT characters is something that interests you, like you like that same genre, you just wish it was a lot more queer, then, you know, I've got, hopefully I'll be writing some books for you. I also want to write urban fantasy. I've got like a sci-fi romance, like a monster romance, which, you know, if you are into monster romances as well, you know, I would also write things that you would probably enjoy, I think. But I'm excited as far as like my publishing and my writing. It's going like pretty well, for sure. You know, I know that y'all see me play like World of Warcraft on here before. You know, obviously I'm a huge fan of fantasy. I've played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, like a lot of Pathfinder and other tabletop games. It's just writing and telling stories from a queer perspective is something that I hope to give to the world, especially in this time, for as long as you're allowed to actually read it and you're allowed to actually view it. Because let's be honest, the way things are going right now, I would not be surprised if they end up, when I say they, I mean our government, attempts to suppress stories or media that, you know, have LGBT people in it or talk about queer issues or anything like that. But as long as I have free speech and I'm allowed to, you know, publish books, I will continue publishing things and continue making videos. If you haven't seen the last stream, then don't worry. I cut the segment I did on Israel and I posted that as a standalone video today. You can go and look at that and listen to, you know, what my thoughts are and kind of like Israel and Gaza and what's been going on and just some frustrations that I'd had listening to people who even at this moment, even right now, considering everything else that's happened, would still say that they don't know if there's a genocide going on in Israel, if Israel committed a genocide. Like, at this point, majority of us understand, like, what actually happened. And, like, that's what I've been up to. That's what's been going on with us so far. But, we're going to get into news today and politics that's been going on and kind of like catching up on everything. So for those of you who are not aware, Don Lemon was arrested today. Yeah, the former CNN reporter was arrested. And why was he arrested? Well, he was arrested for reporting. And we're going to get into that segment now. So I'm going to play a little bit from Legal Eagle's channel, and because they're going to give some back history and backstory to this that might make a little bit more sense. Let me delete my little guest box because I don't have any, you know, guests right now. But let's take a listen.
18th. We have a pretty good idea of what went down because Don Lemon, an independent journalist familiar to most Americans from his years at CNN, live streamed the whole thing. The video begins in a snowy parking lot of a dollar store where protesters have gathered to plan what they call Operation Pull-Up.
They are ready, yeah.
Lemon interviewed Nakima Levy Armstrong, a prominent civil rights activist, lawyer, and former head of the Minnesota chapter of the NAACP.
You know, we protest and do activism in all kinds of ways. This is Operation Pull Up, more of a clandestine operation. We show up somewhere that is a key location. They don't expect us to come there, and then we disrupt business as usual. So that's what we're about to go do right now. We've had a lot of success with the times we have done Operation Pull Up.
Harmeet Dillon.
So just to give some backstory on this, okay, and just want to, you know, walk through the video and show you stuff through here, but I just want to give y'all a little bit more context. So Don Lemon showed up at a church protest because the pastor of this church was an ICE agent. So he's a pastor of a Christian church that's supposed to be talking about God and Jesus and love thy neighbor and all this stuff like that. And yet he's engaging, like actively working as an ICE agent during the time that ICE is committing murders and just rounding people up because of who they are. And obviously there's a lot of biblical stories you could pull to point out this hypocrisy, you know, stories that are kind of like the Good Samaritan. And if you read the kind of like Jesus' message in general, it very much seems like it would not support the type of behavior that ICE is doing. And this group, which is an activist group, met up at that Dollar General and decided they were going to go protest at this church. Don Lemon is not part of that protest. It's obvious that he's not part of the protest. He was just there to interview people as a reporter, as we'll see in just a moment. This is continuing on with what happened now.
Head of the Civil Rights Division at the Justice Department says the protesters don't actually know what goes on in church because they're godless. In fact, Armstrong is an ordained minister. She explained that the group goes to homes of local officials and pressures them to take specific actions. It's an explicitly in-your-face form of activism, which many people criticize or find distasteful. But it's important to remember that the Constitution protects a lot of distasteful and unpleasant speech, like flag burning. Just because it's rude doesn't mean it's illegal. Lemon rode with the protesters and his producer to City's Church in St. Paul, a Southern Baptist congregation whose leadership includes Pastor David Easterwood. But that is not his day job.
My name is David Easterwood. I'm the acting field office director for Enforcement and Removal Operations, ERO St. Paul.
Easterwood is one of the top officials at Department of Homeland Security in charge of coordinating the ongoing immigration dragnet in Minnesota. And the protesters argue that those two positions, ICE agent and pastor, are in conflict. They claim that you cannot claim to serve God while simultaneously rounding up children and old people and unleashing violence on protesters.
Right. So they go to the church, and while they're at the church, Lemon is interviewing basically the pastor here. So you can see Lemon is talking with this guy as a reporter.
That's the hope of the world, is Jesus Christ.
Armstrong connected the protest to...
All right. Here's Don Lemon once again interviewing someone else at this protest.
Good, and letting them know that this will not stand. They cannot pretend to be a house of God while harboring someone who is directing ICE agents to wreak havoc upon our community.
And the widely reported incident where ICE tear-gassed a minivan carrying 6 children home from a basketball game, sending the infant to the hospital. The parishioner...
All right, so we know that if Don Lemon is interviewing people there and he's acting as a reporter, then he is in fact just reporting on the news. It's like, hey, there's a protest going on. These people are protesting, at a church. This is news, especially because this is a civil rights activist, given the context of everything else that is going on with ICE. If you want to watch the rest of this video, you can go and find that video over at Legal Eagles channel. I'm not going to go through the entire thing because at the end of the day, it's obvious that Lemon was acting as a reporter there. This isn't something like he's not there. He never chanted ICE out. He never chanted with the protesters. He never did any of that stuff. And yet we found out today that he was arrested. But before we move on to Don Lemon's arrest, I actually want to just point out for a second that let's cover this, okay? Because this article was written a few months ago, and it says Trump won't ban immigration arrests at school, and some families are now weighing school attendance. The title of the article is not what I really want to focus on, though. If we look down in the article, what we would find is that not only did they say that they could be able to go and take people from school, but the administration has already said that it'll allow federal agents to make arrests at schools, churches, and hospitals, which ends a policy that had been in effect since 2011 that essentially forbid ICE from going and collecting people from sensitive locations. Sensitive locations being, churches, schools, hospitals. So we are to believe that Don Lemon should be arrested and charged. They're trying to charge him under the FACE Act. I know they were also talking about trying to use some type of ruling, some anti-Ku Klux Klan law before that, was trying, aimed at making sure that Christians or religious people are not persecuted in their places of worship. But the thing is I find this is going to be a very easy case for Lemon to make, because Lemon wasn't there as part of the protest. He wasn't protesting anything. He was only recording and doing interviews with other people. Now, ICE has arrested 4 or 5 other people and Don Lemon as well in relation to this. And one of the other people they arrested was also a reporter. And like the reporter is going to be, you know, protected under the First Amendment. Oh yeah, Don Lemon is live now. I'll go to Don Lemon's stream in just a second, because and welcome, Kyle. I just want to finish up my thoughts on this before going to Lemon himself, because I feel like this is like an open shut case. He's expressing his First Amendment. He was not protesting. He wasn't disrupting anything. You can see the video of him interviewing the people before they go there. He interviewed the pastor while he was there. He wasn't chanting anything. This is clearly a political witch hunt. I was aware also that Lemon had been released from jail. He's already been out. And here's a video of Lemon released. And this is from
So look,
TMZ.
I want to thank everybody for their support. It truly means the world to me. I have no idea what's going on because obviously I haven't seen anything. I have spent my entire career covering the news. I will not stop now. In fact, there is no more important time than right now, this very moment, for a free and independent media that shines a light on the truth and holds those in power accountable. Again, I will not stop now. I will not stop ever. Last night, the DOJ sent a team of federal agents to arrest me in the middle of the night for something that I've been doing for the last 30 years, and that is covering the news. The First Amendment of the Constitution protects that work for me and for countless of other journalists who do what I do.
100%. At the end of the day, this is going to be covered under the First Amendment. This administration, I want to make it clear to everyone who's like, well, you just obey the law when they come to talking about ICE and all this stuff like that. When it comes to obeying the law, he didn't do anything illegal. He didn't. And I get so tired of hearing the whole like, oh, well, because people on Twitter, are spreading around images of him being arrested or whatever. And at the end of the day, that's all this administration cares about. This administration is like the administration of podcasters and content creators. There is so much stuff that they do. The fact that they've got like Ice Barbie out here, the fact that Bonvino was walking around dressed up like a Nazi LARPer and stuff like that. We see from this administration, not just the actual literal Nazis that follow them, but we see from the actual administration themselves, they constantly, whether it's digitally altering photos with AI to make it seem like somebody they arrested who just was solemn being arrested, they had to AI edit her photo to make it look like she was crying when she was arrested. Because all they care about is the news. All they care about is being famous and for people to be talking about them and to get the spotlight. They're absolutely obsessed with it. And at the end of the day, it's the reason why a lot of people that get arrested and they're like showing their mugshots and like, oh, we got another one type of thing. A lot of these people end up getting out of jail like the next day. They just have to release them. And then when it does go to court, they lose in court over and over and over. We know from the judge that signed the warrant to like arrest Lemon that over and over and over, this is a conservative judge, kept shooting down the DOJ's requests to charge him with anything. They he kept striking down their charges like, nope, that doesn't make any sense. He's allowed to do that. He's allowed to do that. He's allowed to do that. And they have to shop around their warrants until they can get some judge to agree to some vague offense that he committed so that they could arrest him. And he's just going to end up going back free. Like, that's going to be the case. He's going to win this hands down. It's pretty open and shut and obvious that he never should have been arrested.
Weekday
But
at 10 a.m. and
I'm going to go to Don Lemon because he's live now, as Kyle was saying. So let's just take a look and see what he has to say about this himself. And we can watch in real time he respond to this.
To thank, and in no particular order, but the mayor of Los Angeles was there, Karen Bass. I think it was
play
fantastic.
Back the speed.
By the way, I don't know anything. Like, I have not seen the news. I haven't seen anything. I did not know. I've been getting feedback from everyone about what has happened. I had no idea that all of this turmoil was going on. I just thought, like, it would be. I thought people would report on it, but not to this extent. So thank you guys, and hit the like and hit the thumbs up because it does affect the algorithm, and more people become aware of our conversation. And our show today is a really important one, and it's important for our democracy. and to the Constitution of the United States, and what the amendment that I believe is the bedrock of our democracy, and that is the First Amendment: freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to peaceably assemble, all of those things. This encapsulates all of that. And I'm glad that, at least to the extent that it has, that people are realizing the critical moment that we're in this country, that our rights are under assault.
Right. And if you think that our rights are not under assault, I just want to remind you that we have seen this administration go after our First Amendment rights over and over, 100%. Like, they're sitting here trying to silence like Stephen Colbert. Remember them trying to fire Jimmy Kimmel for saying things that Trump didn't like. Trump has threatened to pull the broadcasting license from these different news organizations just for reporting on things that he doesn't like. Trump has threatened to sue news outlets because he didn't like the polling numbers that have been coming out. These are real polling numbers from legitimate agencies. It's not like they're just making this up. And we end up seeing something like this where now you have reporters that are being arrested for reporting the news. We've already seen ICE shoot reporters or target reporters specifically while they're out recording what's going on. And at the end of the day, you can think whatever you want about Don Lemon, and you can think whatever you want about politics in general. At the end of the day, we have a First Amendment right in this country, and we're all going to keep exercising it and keep speaking out about this. And the more that this administration tries to crack down, the more that people try to bully us off of platforms and make us be quiet and silence us, the more we will speak out. Every single time people come onto my stream and try and get me to shut down the stream, or they threaten me physically, or they threaten to dox me, all it does is make me want to produce even more videos. I don't care how often they say these things, how often they attempt to be harmful to us. I will continue speaking out about this because at the end of the day, we have these rights, and we're going to continue fighting back against this authoritarian that is trying to destroy the Constitution and wants to silence our free speech. It's just not going to happen.
May have started with people having their due process rights violated on the streets, violently violated on the streets. But now they're trying to silence journalists. And I will not be silenced. And I think journalists should not be silenced. I think this is a very critical time for journalists in this country to stand up to this tyrannical administration. And look, journalists are going to be.
So Lisa Johnson in the chat, what do you have to say? Like, what is your point? What are you trying to get at? I genuinely want to know, since you're going to come on here and just type like some random garbage in the chat. Like, I don't think this person is going to have anything productive to say at all if they're going where I think they're going with this. But go ahead. Let us know how you really feel.
I believe they can be the folks that save us. I actually believe that artists will be the people that save us as well. And that's why I'm here in Los Angeles, is to cover the artists who are exercising their freedom of expression rights and creating fantastic music. And so I'll explain to you in a moment what happened, because I was actually I'd just been on the red carpet at the Black Music Collective.
Yeah, it's just like Bruce Springsteen's song, like The Streets of Minnesota. Great song. I Am a Woman. Thanks for noticing.
Grammy Black Music Collective, and we were talking about the power and the importance of representation in music and black music. I had just seen Ketanji Brown Jackson. I just waved hello to her as she walked by. She didn't want to do an interview. I saw, Pharrell and all of the wonderful artists who are contributing to what's good in this country, the very best. But so look, I have been, guys, a journalist for 30 years, if not more. I'm a man of a certain age. I always say old people be knowing. And the only job or profession that is protected in the Constitution, I believe, and the very First Amendment, is a job that I do. It's a job that I have, and so many journalists around the world. So this is a moment for journalists, I believe, around the world, and I am so grateful to everyone who has.
Oh, you think it's insanity that I'm a woman? Are you the arbiter of like other people's existence? Oh, you think that I'm a male, always have been, always will be? Well, medical outcomes are definitely not your forte. And I can tell you what you're not always going to be in this chat, because, you can piss off. Goodbye. Later. It is, it's my chat, it's my channel, and guess who's not going to be here with us anymore?
voiced their support, who has put out statements, who has reached out to me,
Yeah.
who said, whatever you need financially, whatever.
You might have free speech and you can say whatever you want to, which is true. You're free to say whatever you want to, but you're not free to say it in my chat and to pollute my chat, right? I can police my own chat. Yeah, goodbye. I know. Okay, Shane, unironically, I want to get stuff set up for debates so that instead of just like removing these people, because I don't want them to just sit there spamming my chat the entire time, I want to set it up so that they can call in and talk to me. And I'll give them the option that they can either talk to me or they can leave. Those are their choices. They can debate me or they can discuss trans issues with me, since they want to bring up trans issues while I'm talking about the First Amendment and I'm trying to cover Don Lemon. Since they want to bring that up, they can either get in my Discord and they can come talk to me, or I'm going to ban them. That'll be the option. They can come tell me what their beliefs are and defend their beliefs and why are they harassing me, or they will be removed, because I don't have to let them stay in my chat. 100%. Oh, you would love to come talk to me? Okay. Let's get that to happen. So give me one moment. All right. Join my Discord. We'll just pause the segment to go ahead and do this. Yeah, click that link and join my Discord. Get in my Discord. Your options, misinformed. I just gave you the link. You can get in my Discord and you can come speak with me, or I'm just going to ban you and move on. Y'all are all cowards. You'll never defend anything that you have to say. You're going to hide behind the anonymity online. I'm not going to waste all my night with you. I'm going to give you like literally only like 2 minutes. Join the Discord or shut the fuck up. Don't be a coward. Grow a spine. You should easily be able to defend your positions on here. I know, doesn't it? You've got like 1 more minute. You're literally wasting my time. Which is probably the point for cowardly trolls like you. Just absolute pathetic, low IQ people. Cowards, every single one of you. Okay, I gave you the opportunity to get in the Discord. You're going to be a coward and you're just going to keep spamming stuff in my chat instead of coming to speak with me when you had the opportunity. Are you struggling right now? Do you not know how the internet works? Yeah. You have the opportunity. Maybe you'll log back on with another like sock puppet and you can come on here and say the same thing. The Discord link is still there. if you want to join the Discord and you want to actually have a conversation about this, then you can join the Discord and you can come have a conversation with me about trans issues. Yeah, they can come back on another account. I want to just continue the segment. But, you know, that was their choice. I gave them the opportunity to come on here and talk to me because it's like, at the end of the day, you know, I'm the streamer. It's my channel. I'm not going to sit here and derail the entire show for one person if they're not even willing to talk to me. It's just sad. And if they think that I can't just edit this out later on and just cut out the section and just continue my segment, they're out of their mind. So back to Don Lemon. I know, it's so weak. Why so weak? You know, they always say that we're the snowflakes and that we're the ones that don't have a backbone and we can't debate anything and would never defend our positions. But then when they have the opportunity to come and speak with me, they will not come and actually talk to me. It's like all they can do is hide behind their keyboard. Pathetic.
Ever support that you need. It has been overwhelming. And I do think right now that people understand that, again, this is a very critical time. And I hope that this continues and to support not just me. If I can be the catalyst for or the inspiration for people to say, finally, stand up to the powers that be in our government. And also, quite frankly, having come from corporate media for a long time, to stand up to the gatekeepers, the corporations, and say, no, I am not going to bend the knee to this administration. I am not going to put on liars and insurrection deniers and election deniers. I'm not.
Yeah, I 100% agree with him. I hope more people speak out about this. And Shane, are you talking about the Epstein files? Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in another couple of segments. I don't have like too far to go with it. I don't know how long I'm going to go tonight, but we've got a lot of Epstein stuff to cover just to like review some of it because a lot of stuff dropped. I know a lot of people are going to be talking about it over the next couple of days, but like 100% this Epstein stuff is something that we need to cover. Like,
I'm not
holy
give
shit.
my platform to those people. I'm not going to put people on television and give them a platform, people who come on just to lie and to offend and to insult people. It's insulting to the American people. This is not folly. It's not funny. This is not a game. If you look at any tyranny or any autocracy, any sort of dictatorship, the first thing they do is they get rid of the media. They try to silence the media. Ask Turkey about that, Erdogan. Ask Iran about that. Ask any country that has lost its way, that has been overtaken by a dictator. They get rid of the press first. And so we need to start standing up. And I got to say that from what I've heard, I haven't had a chance to see it. I've heard that my former colleagues at CNN all came out pretty unanimously, pretty strongly to support me. I understand. I believe that CNN released a statement. I've heard that CNN released a statement. Thank you very much. I have no animus for CNN. I have no animus for anyone, but I tell the truth as about what I see. And I think it's time for all journalists to stand up for each other. So I appreciate that. And look, at CNN, I worked with the best journalists in the world. So I wish them nothing but the best. But I believe those journalists as well need to stand up to the corporation. They need to tell Warner Brothers Discovery, stop playing and get your hands out of the newsroom. CBS needs to tell Paramount and David Ellison and whatever, get out of our newsroom, get out of our journalism. Barry Weiss, take your hands off of it. Let the journalists be the journalists. All of them. That goes for every single corporate entity that owns a journalistic organization. Let the journalists be the journalists because they're going to save our democracy if you just let them do it. The way to stand up to a bully, to a tyrant, is not to bend the knee. It's not to acquiesce. It is to metaphorically punch them right in the nose. And you need to introduce not only Donald Trump and the folks who work for him and his administration, but the corporate overlords and the gatekeepers. You need to introduce them to the word no.
Yeah, because 100%, you know, I don't know if y'all saw or not, but like Bibi Netanyahu was talking, like 4 or 5 months ago at like a streamer group that he was giving a speech to. And he was saying that social media was essentially going to be like the next big battlefield for them. He was saying like, oh, modern battlefields aren't fought like with a sword. And so we need to adapt to things. And he was specifically calling out the purchase of TikTok and saying that they need to, you know, stay on top of that. And they need to make sure that essentially their allies acquire all these different social media sites. That's what they want to do. They want to make it so that you cannot speak out about ICE, that you cannot tell the truth about what was going on in Israel, that anytime you start telling the truth about Donald Trump and what's going on, and like the Epstein files, for instance, they came out today. A lot of that stuff is still redacted, illegally redacted, but it's still redacted. So we need to talk about this. We need to hammer this in, that free speech is important. And on the left, when we say free speech, we don't mean that like, you know, you have a right to come on my platform and just sit in my chat and just, you know, pollute my chat over and over and over and over so that it's, you know, either not usable by people who are actually here to have a conversation or actually want to talk about the subject. And at the same time, that's my chat, all right? I can remove people from it if I want to. Just like if you go to a business and you start, swearing at the store owner or the waitresses or whatever, the restaurant can have you removed and thrown out. That's a private entity. This is my private chat. All right, so I'm not going to say that you should be arrested or anything like that for coming here and saying some stupid shit, but you're not going to sit in my chat. I can remove you. That's different from the government coming and saying that, well, you don't have a right to report on anything. You don't have a right to talk about anything going on publicly. You don't have a right to go and protest at places, especially when they want to give themselves the authority to do the very thing that they arrested Don Lemon for. Okay. If Christian rights are so sacred and religious rights are so sacred that it's unthinkable for someone to go in and protest at a church and you feel like, oh, they should be arrested if they protest at a church because it's such a sacred thing, then why do you allow ICE officials to go into churches and to arrest people and say that, well, the general sanctuary, that's public grounds, that counts as a public area, and only the offices of the church count as a private area? Okay, so then if protesters go in there and exercise their right to protest in a public place, which would be the very same sanctuary that you've designated, now you're saying, oh, well, wait a minute, this is disrupting a church service and a sacred institution, and Don Lemon should be arrested and charged for that. If Don Lemon should be arrested and charged, then so should these Gestapo ICE, 100%. At the end of the day, we have to be the ones to protect our free speech. We have to be the ones to stand up and tell the government that they are not going to do that. We will exercise our freedom of speech and we will continue to publish things. And companies, whether it is, news companies like CBS and these other news agencies, they need to give journalists freedom. Stephen Colbert should not be canceled because he made some jokes that Trump didn't like. Jimmy Kimmel should not be taken off the air because he made jokes that the president didn't like. That's not the same thing as harassing your coworkers or insulting your coworkers or calling them slurs and making the workplace unsafe for them. That is a private company making the decision to get rid of an employee who's problematic in that case. Trump demanding that they be fired is the government stepping in and saying, oh, well, the government doesn't like something that you said, so you should be removed because the government is upset. There's a huge difference. And for some reason, the critical thinking type, the people that claim that they are not sheep, that they all think for themselves, that none of them, they're not in a little cult like the left is. None of them can think for themselves to see the difference in that. They don't recognize the difference in a private company or somebody who privately owns a space saying, hey, you can't come in here and harass our employees. You cannot come in here and insult us or threaten us. But at the same time, they don't see a difference in that in the government stepping in and saying, oh, the government just doesn't like it when you criticize the president. As if that's causing any sort of damage to the president, as if that's making it an unsafe workplace for the president. It's absolutely ludicrous. These are just not demonstrably not the same thing. The government is not the same thing as a private business that you're working for. But moving on to our president. Shane says, you like Don. He's something of a liberal, and you're not a huge fan or anything, but you were sad when you first heard that he was arrested. You thought they'd been caught doing something bad, but it turns out, yeah, no, it's complete bullshit. And I'm right there with you. Look, I was not subscribed to Don Lemon until I found out that he was arrested. I went and subscribed to his channel today. And even though he's a liberal and a lot of times he's not nearly as left as I think he should be, I'll absolutely support Don Lemon now because they're trying to silence his speech. And I feel like he should be supported. Now, if this was some extreme right-winger and they were, arrested because they were talking about going and killing a bunch of people, then I wouldn't support that. But Don didn't do anything at all that is harmful to anyone. He went and interviewed people that were protesting a church, and he interviewed the pastor of that church to get their view on it as well. He acted as a reporter. That's not him being a radical. He was not protesting the church or anything like that. He was just recording what happened. But we talked about Trump and talked about the president, and I know many of you are already aware, but Trump has been like incredibly unpopular in the way that he characterized the murder of Alex Preddy. Whenever Preddy was first murdered by ICE, Caroline Leavitt came out and these other people saying that, he had like multiple magazines on him to do maximum damage. He was, a terrorist and all this sort of stuff like that. Just complete hyperbole that over the next couple of days, people reviewing the video, even Fox News, CNN, correctly calling out that you cannot watch that video and come away with saying, oh yeah, Alex was totally a terrorist. Alex never drew the gun, never held the gun. ICE pulled it off of him from his waistband and shot him. Even conservatives, Ted Cruz came out saying that he felt that Trump's administration was being irresponsible with the rhetoric and the way that they were painting him because he was lawfully, legally carrying a firearm that was not drawn. He was disarmed and beaten on the ground when ICE executed him. But since then, Trump got a lot of pushback, and for a while, it seemed like he was pretty mad at what was going on in the way that things were being presented. He was angry that he basically repeated the things that Stephen Miller had said and that Noam had said, and that people were pissed off at him. He got upset about it, and what do we see? So now Trump is calling Preddy an insurrectionist, all right? And an agitator after a new video of the ICU nurse emerges. So this is 100% a lack of principle here, okay? So Trump went out of his way to like call this guy a terrorist, then was like, oh, wait a minute, people are mad about that, and the video actually looks really bad, so I should back off of that, and I shouldn't say that. But now that different video came out, Trump has changed his mind and is going right back to calling him an agitator and insurrectionist. But before we give the president any credit here to say, or leeway, to be like, well, maybe new video came out and that changed the narrative. Here's the problem. The new video that came out was video from a week prior, right? This is NBC News, and the article is written by Pilar Melendez, okay? I'm going to just touch on some of the stuff that it says. On Friday, Trump called Preddy an agitator, perhaps an insurrectionist, marking an increase in the intensity of his rhetoric toward the ICU nurse that was fatally killed. Okay, after he had said that they should de-escalate a little bit, and in a Truth Social post, Trump said that Preddy's stock has gone way down with the just released video of him screaming and spitting in the face of very calm and under control ICE officer, and then crazily kicking in a new and very expensive government vehicle so hard and violent, in fact, that the taillight broke off in pieces. The problem is that video, I just want to, this is hilarious to me. That video of him kicking the vehicle and yelling at ICE was from a week prior to his execution. So from 1 week ago, I'm just curious for conservatives. Can you explain this to me? So let's say for a second, Kyle says, anything to distract from the point so familiar, anything to avoid responsibility or accountability. Oh, 100%. Here's the thing. Let's imagine that you go to a football game, okay? Like you're out, because we're going to pretend you're conservative, okay? You're MAGA, you're a sports fan and all this stuff like that. So you go out to a football game, then there's a tailgate that happens, then police come out there to bust it up and tell y'all that you can't be tailgating out here, and you are overcome with American patriotism, and you stand in the face of the officer and you yell at them and cuss at them and everything else. But the cop is feeling generous that day, and the cop says, hey, I'm just going to give you a warning. I already told y'all you can't be here, whatever, it's a hazard, whatever, you've got to go. The cop gets in their car and starts to leave, and you, being all boozed up and still filled with patriotism, kick the vehicle and knock the taillight off the vehicle. But the cop doesn't arrest you. Instead, the cop stops and several officers join him, and they beat you down and break your ribs and then leave you on the ground with your ribs broken, and they drive off. Now, they don't arrest you and charge you for the taillight. They think it's sufficient to just beat you and break your ribs, okay? So you're left injured and, in pain. Now, a week passes. You've recovered a little bit. just a little bit. You've still got a broken rib, but you've recovered, and you decide that you're going to go to a St. Patrick's Day parade or some shit like that. And it starts getting rowdy, and there's a lot of drinking going on, and you're overwhelmed with patriotism once again. And, you know, the shamrock overcomes you, and you've just had so much to drink. You're out there partying, celebrating your Irish heritage. You're so proud of being white and being Irish. But some police are now called, and they have to kind of disrupt things because it's gotten a little bit too rowdy, right? There's too much partying going on. You're having too much fun, right? As a country singer once said. And they start, you know, scattering people and everything else. And you just happen to notice that this innocent woman that is standing nearby isn't disrupting and isn't causing a problem, but she's not leaving the area fast enough, and a cop goes to throw her on the ground and start spraying her. Now, you've just been beaten by these cops, and you know that, you know, you've still got your broken rib, that how much they can injure you if a bunch of them come over and start beating on you. And this cop that threw this woman down is about to like pepper spray her, and you think like, man, this cop might, you know, beat this woman down and injure her the way that he did me. And you've got your phone out recording everything because you're like, oh, I don't want to get beat up again. But at the same time, I want to make sure that if cops do beat people down, they end up, you know, actually being on camera, and they can't just beat you down and leave you injured like they did in that football parking lot, right? So you step in front of the lady, and this time the cop sprays you in the face with mace, throws you to the ground. The cops come over and they all beat you once again, despite you already having a broken rib, and all you were doing is filming. You didn't even fight this time, all right? And it's 1 week after the football incident, okay? And now there's like a straight up like Shamrock massacre, okay? They beat your ass down. One of the cops notices that you have a gun tucked in your waistband because you're a God-blessed American exercising your Second Amendment right, and you've got your license on you and everything. It's perfectly legal. And one of the cops takes the gun off of you, walks away, and yells "gun." And then one of the other cops that is not well trained at all, he's like a complete rookie, and he failed his English class, and he's been made fun of by women his entire life. He never got to date cheerleaders. In fact, he's pretty much just a loser. And he's also a Nazi and a white supremacist, and he thought that like the people at Charlottesville did a good thing. And he just loves Trump so much, and the only reason he was given a job was because they couldn't fill in anyone else to have the job. And he's like exceptionally a stupid person, and he also is not trained whatsoever. He's not very good at his job. He freaks out and panics because he hears the word gun, and he thinks like somebody must be like trying to kill all the Irish people, and therefore he draws his gun, except, you know, he's also English, just because he hates Irish people. And he executes you, okay? He shoots you. So it's like white on white violence. In what world would you think that that's justified? Does that make sense? Would, now that it's been a week later, and that you were doing something else where you weren't even violent, okay? You could say like, oh, well, you know, you were aggressive and got in the cop's face at the football game, but it's a week later, and you're just enjoying some Shamrock shakes and fighting fascism as proud Irishmen should and have done forever. And if you're a proud Irishman, you know what I'm talking about when I say that the Irish have always fought fucking fascism. No fucking kings. At the end of the day, would you have deserved to be beaten up, thrown on the ground, and then executed? No. And it's ridiculous that the president of our fucking country, after walking back all the bullshit that he had said beforehand, is now feels empowered once again to say like, oh, well, now Preddy is an insurrectionist and an agitator because he kicked a vehicle a week beforehand. Now, I try to make it a little bit humorous because otherwise it's just so bleak. But can we be real for a second? This man got into an altercation 1 week beforehand, and then a week later, ICE beats him down, strips his gun off of him, and executes him. And we are to believe that because he got into a scuffle 1 week ago, and he's got a broken rib, that changes anything. He's still on film holding a camera. He did not attack ICE. He was beaten by several officers with a broken rib defending an innocent woman. They pulled the firearm off of him, and then they executed him unarmed. It doesn't change anything. And you can tell all the stories you want to. You can spin it. You can polish it up. You can invent football games that he went to. Talk about him roughhousing at a tailgate. You can make up whatever you want to. You can talk about shamrock shakes and everything else. It's not going to change the fact of what's on that fucking video. He was an innocent man that was disarmed and then executed on the fucking sidewalk. And for Trump to sit here and say that he's an insurrectionist, if that makes him an insurrectionist, then we're all fucking insurrectionists. Then just for standing around at a protest expressing your First Amendment, that means that the January 6th was a goddamn an insurrection. That means that Charlottesville was an insurrection. That means that every single person protesting ever under that logic is an insurrectionist. At that point, the word insurrectionist becomes useless. And what's this word agitator that they're throwing around anyway? Like, what the fuck does it mean to even be an agitator? Am I being an agitator because I'm talking about this online? Was Don Lemon being an agitator because he decided to interview some people at a protest at a church? Like, it's such a, like, it's a catch-all term that doesn't really mean anything. Like, oh, you're agitating. What does that fucking mean? Am I agitating because I'm dressed in a way that you don't like? Am I agitating because I have pronouns that you don't like? Am I agitating because I'm standing around on the sidewalk filming a protest? Am I agitating because I'm walking in a protest? What does agitating mean in this sense? Because as far as I could tell, the best guess I could give, agitating is like, oh, you're inciting violence or some shit. Like, you're stirring things up. Preddy wasn't stirring anything up. He was filming. I don't know how the word agitator, or to agitate something, to stir it up, I don't know how that applies to Preddy and what he was doing. Right? And in order to believe the conservative narrative, you'd have to turn your brain off, and you'd have to essentially just don't believe your own lying eyes and ears. Don't believe what you see. Don't believe what you hear. And don't believe the neutral video. It is just a video. The video doesn't have an opinion. The video doesn't have a bias. The video isn't left wing. The video is the video, and that's it. It is as clear, cut, and dry. This man was murdered. That's as easy as it is. I'm sorry for going on it, but like, after covering this stuff for like the last week, seeing these people being murdered by ICE, to turn around and have all that of Trump walking back some of the stuff he said and saying, I think we need to de-escalate things. And I was like, maybe they finally recognized they've gone too far. Then Trump wants to turn around and besmirch the name of the man that his Gestapo just executed in the street for nothing. All right. Sorry. I got a little worked up. So, I'm going to move, staying on Trump while we're talking about Trump, because we've got a lot of stuff to talk with about him. He did a rally in Iowa. Did y'all see this? Were y'all aware that Trump was rallying in Iowa? And when I say he did a rally in Iowa, I mean he went and like had a like he's running for president or something. It might seem weird, but let's watch the video and listen to what he's talking about, and then we're going to talk about why he's doing it. Okay? Because there is a reason for this, I promise, and I'm going to arm you with the knowledge so that when you see this or people are talking about this, you can point out to them it's kind of strange that he did this, and then talk about why he did it. So let's listen. I got it sped up.
I hope you remember us for the midterms.
Because I don't want to...
You know, the worst thing about the midterms is the fact that no matter what happens, people
He'll actually sound more normal.
Even if you're a good president. I think we had the best first year of any president ever, maybe they say. But even if you have a great... It's like in the last 50 years, they've won it twice. Can you believe it? If something happens, there's a screw turns with the voters. So even if it's...
Okay, so he's bitching that when the president, whoever wins the presidency in the next midterms, they usually lose seats. And he's saying that there's a screw loose with the voters. Okay, so he's already just insulting the voting public.
Democrat or Republican, whoever wins the presidency has a hard time with the midterm. If we lose the midterms, you'll lose so many of the things that we're talking about.
Oh,
so
you're
going to
lose the
We're talking
midterms.
about, so many of the tax cuts that we're talking about. And it would lead to very bad things. We got to win the midterms. I mean, I'm here because I love Iowa, but I'm here because we're starting the campaign to win the midterms. We got to win the midterms. I mean, you know, I inherited this problem. They say, prices are too high. I just took over. They said, I'll never forget. I come here, I'm in 3 days. I have a news conference 3 days into my administration. What about the price of eggs? They've gone up like 5 times more. I said, I just got here. I didn't know about it. I'm sorry. And we got eggs down very quickly, remember?
Yeah, because he said that within like the 2 days of his presidency, the price of eggs would come down. He also said like within the first 3 days or within the first week, the war in Ukraine would be over. That was also a lie. He said that the war, the genocide going on in Gaza with Israel, that would be handled. That wasn't handled either. And he continues like trying to, oh shucks, you know, it takes longer than a couple days, you know. I was just talking shit. That's what he might as well say.
But I fixed it. Now I fixed it pretty much all, but it's going to go down even further. No, but they caused the problem. And then they came up, you know, it's a word that they came up with, affordability. Every time you hear the word, remember, they're the ones that caused the problem. Although you're not hearing it so much anymore. You know why? Because the prices are coming down so much. They don't want it to be an election based on lower prices. But we're bringing down the lower, I like that term better. It's a lower prices. We're bringing them down.
Okay, so they were, the people in the crowd in the back that have those lower prices signs, they were given those signs. And you can see the sign that says bigger paychecks and stuff like that. These people were all given those signs. Now, why is he in Iowa? Why is he doing this rally in the first place? All right. It's because he said affordability right here. And he's like, oh, well, Democrats are going to touch on affordability and they're going to claim affordability. And when you hear affordability, remember, they caused the problem. The reason why he's saying that is he's already trying to set up the narrative. It's because he had already said in a recorded message that he thought was at a convention with Republicans. He did not think that it was being recorded. He said that he wished that he could just call affordability a hoax, like he does everything else. But he can't, because people can go to the grocery store and see that prices are not down. Cardazney says, price going down. Why are my groceries consistently twice a month? Oh, 100%. And we're going to get to that in 1 second. Because at the end of the day, the reason he went to Iowa is because of this. All right, we're going to move to Henry Enton. All right, he's the CNN statistics person. Let's look what Enton has to say. And does Enton agree with Trump that prices are down? I mean, they're clearly down. All right, let's talk about this.
Why? Because the economy and inflation ate Joe Biden's presidency alive, and now it is eating Donald Trump's presidency alive. I mean, just take a look here. Net approval rating on the economy. You go back to this point in the Joe Biden presidency, he was 19 points underwater. You go into Donald Trump's presidency, hey, he started off in the positive territory at plus 6 points. But down he goes, down the slide into the ocean he goes, negative 20 points. Donald Trump is actually in slightly worse position right now in the economy than Joe Biden was in this presidency. And of course, Joe Biden, as I said at the top, the economy ate his presidency alive. And right now, it is eating Donald Trump's presidency alive.
A lot of the focus the last few days, understandably, has been on the immigration crackdown. Is that what Americans want to see?
No, this is the whole thing. You know, why is Donald Trump going into Iowa right now? And it is because of this. I mean, Trump administration is focusing too little on lowering prices. The vast majority, 3 in 4 Americans say.
This is Iowa. Now, I think they're going to cover how red Iowa was historically in just a second. But let's be real here. Iowa was red and red and red. And they've been losing special elections in Iowa. All right. They've been losing special elections because people see prices skyrocketing. Why are prices skyrocketing? It's because of his trade policies. It's because of his fascination with tariffs. That's why prices continue to go up. It's it's so bad that we've had to subsidize our farmers, right? The soybean farmers couldn't move their product because who bought our soybeans? It was China. Who's buying our soybeans now? No one. And whenever you say he's threatening to slap Canada with 100% tariffs on this or that, or 50% tariffs. And I know people talk all the time that Trump is doing this whole taco thing. Trump always chickens out when it comes to trade. And it's a real problem because if you are an ally of ours and you want to trade with us, if I continue to threaten to change my agreement with you, if I keep saying, hey, we had an agreement on X amount of money and we'll trade and it seems stable, then I come back to you and say, actually, I'm running a different business now and you're going to have to give me 25% more or 35% more. And then a couple of days later, after you're trying to file the paperwork and figure it out, I come back and say, actually, I'm going to pull all that back. Let's go back to the way it was before. And then I get mad one night and you see on Twitter that I say like, actually, it's going to be 100%. As I'm going to call, I'm going to call you tomorrow. And when I call you, I'm going to demand 100% tariff on whatever you're giving me. You're going to eventually get tired of that stuff. And you're going to say, fuck this. You're not going to deal with me. You're going to find someone else who is a lot more stable. And we've seen Canada doing that by going and making deals with China. And Trump is already threatening Canada now, saying that if they follow through with those deals, he's going to put even more tariffs on them. Do you think that that's going to help our trade deficit at all? Is that going to help our prices any more whatsoever? No. If you threaten to harm some other country's economy because they're doing business with someone else, that country is going to retaliate against you. What incentive would they have to not retaliate against you if you're going to try to harm their market? They might as well do the same for you, because if you're stabbing them in the back, they're going to stab you in the chest. But continuing on with this.
He's focusing too little on lowering prices. That's why he's going into Iowa. What is he focusing too much on? He's focusing too much on deportations at 53%. The Americans want to focus on the economy and lowering prices. They don't want on deportations, and right now, they think it's flipperoo, and that's why Donald Trump, again, going into Iowa, trying to flip that script, a script that right now the American people do not like.
Full disclosure, I cheated and actually read ahead on this presentation. This next slide, I think, is the most interesting. What do we know about when presidents aren't doing well with the economy, how that affects the midterms?
I'm going to forgive John for skipping ahead here, but the audience will follow along with the lesson plan as it was supposed to be told. Take a look here. The president's party, the average midterm House seat loss. If the president's net approval rating on the economy is positive, which Donald Trump isn't, you keep your House seats lost to a minimal, right? You lose about 9 seats on average. If it is negative, the president is not liked on the economy. If his net approval rating on the economy is negative, as it is right now for Donald Trump, look at the average House seat loss. It's a 28-seat loss on average, which would wave adios amigos, goodbye, see you later, that House majority, and it probably would put the Senate majority in danger as well. When a president is seen negative on the economy, his party suffers. Big league, to put it into President Trump's language, big league when it comes to the midterm election.
And that's just negative. That doesn't even account for negative 20.
So now we start to see why he's going to Iowa, why he's doing this type of like weird campaign thing where it's like, it seems like he's almost like running for president again. Why is he going out there and doing campaign style rallies if everything is fine? If prices are down, why would he need to go there? Why would he need to go and try and tell Iowans that prices are actually coming down and everything's fine? He's having to do that because we all feel the crunch. All of our groceries are higher priced, all right? I'm a vegan, and my vegetables and all of the products that I buy have still gone up. Not as much as it has for what I've seen with box goods, dry goods, or over in the meat and dairy section, but it has gone up. A grocery bill that would have cost me $100 when Joe Biden was president now costs me $175 for the exact same goods. And you can go through the store and you can do this yourself. I challenge you, if you're a conservative and you think that if you're going to believe Trump, that the affordability is a Democrat hoax, it's a Democrat buzzword that we've just made up, okay? Go back and pull your receipts, or go back to your credit card, okay? Because if you don't have receipts, go to your bank and ask them for a credit card statement from the last year, and you can see what you were paying for groceries when Joe Biden was president, and then compare that to what you are paying now. And it is undeniable that for roughly the same goods, you are paying out the nose. All right, we all feel this. This isn't something that you can just, gesture at vaguely that might not be impacting everyone, like immigration or something. ICE is obviously impacting people in the cities where ICE is at. And if you are an immigrant or you're the son of an immigrant, you're obviously going to be worried about, immigration policy, because that might directly affect you or your parents. But if you're not in that situation, it makes it a lot easier, especially if you're of like MAGA. You can just kind of ignore that and say, oh, well, ICE is just doing a good job. But when it comes to the economy, this impacts all of us. Everyone is feeling this right now, even in red states, which is why when we covered on the map last stream, when we're covering Trump's popularity, Trump is negative everywhere. He's like even negative 17 in Texas right now. He's negative 10 in Florida, because all of us across the country are feeling this. These numbers are not going to get better because he's talking about adding more tariffs onto Canada in retaliation for their Chinese deal. And we know that Keir Starmer just went to go meet with Xi Jinping in China. And Trump is threatening Keir Starmer, saying that, oh, if they go through with a deal with China, that we will take retaliation against Europe. So you should remember this. If you are associated with MAGA, if you cut deals with MAGA, they are all backstabbing. They are all backbiting. You cannot trust MAGA to keep their word. They will betray you. And if you have these MAGA cultists, and they are cultists, inside of your country, just know that if you put them in charge of your country, this is what you have to look forward to. Look at our country as a cautionary tale of what happens if you follow this ultra-nationalism policies. If you think that tariffing other countries as retaliation is a good idea, look to us and how we are all suffering through this and how we are all struggling to make ends meet right now. Do you want that for your people? Do you want that future in your country? Because that's what you have to look forward to if you enact these policies. And hopefully, going into the midterms, if we have free and fair elections, which is, questionable. We saw Trump's people go and literally steal the voter rolls in Fulton County, Georgia, right? And Trump has also said that, well, he'd pull ICE out of Minnesota if they just turn over the voting rolls. I want to ask, if you're a conservative, why would turning over the voting rolls be the motivation for if Trump pulls ICE out? Like, if you genuinely think that ICE is there and doing a good job, and it is about immigration, and it is about getting these hardened criminals off the street, as Trump claims, why would he make the decision to pull ICE out of the state if they just turn over their voter rolls in Minneapolis? Why would he ask for that? I think that's a legitimate question, because obviously, like, if that's what's going on, if that's what they're asking for, that's what the request is in order to pull out ICE, then obviously it's not just about like immigration. Morgan says, even if you just look or sound like you might be an immigrant to ICE, 100%. If you are just, if you are not white enough, you are going to get targeted by them. Like, just being a person of color in this country is enough to get you targeted and abducted by ICE or beaten down or threatened with deportation. But that being said, fuck ICE 100%. And I hope that as we go into the midterms and we continue to see Trump's popularity plummeting, presidents do not usually recover in likability. Like, once your numbers go down, they pretty much stay down. That's why Biden's numbers just went down and down and down. He wasn't just regaining popularity or anything like that. If this continues into the midterms, we are going to see somebody replace the House Majority Leader in the House, right? We're going to get rid of MAGA Mike Johnson. He kiss his job goodbye, and they may even with how unpopular Trump is, they may even be looking at trouble in the Senate. And if Democrats take the House, then Trump is a lame duck for the rest of the time that he's president. If Democrats manage to take the House and the Senate, then they can actually impeach him. And this is very important. Even if they cannot remove him without a majority, like a 3/4 majority in the Senate, they can pass impeachment without removal as a simple majority. That's very important. The reason why is all this talk that Trump talks about a third term, not possible if he gets convicted of impeachment even with a simple majority of the House and Senate. If he's convicted of impeachment without removal, that gets rid of the supermajority that they'd have to have, but it stops him and his vice president from being able to run for office again. Very important. Then not only would Trump's third term that he keeps fantasizing about not be possible, J.D. Vance couldn't run for president either if he got impeached, because you can impeach the vice president as well. So literally, if we win the midterms, if we take the House and the Senate, and there is enough Democrats that replace these complacent, malicious, malevolent people, then we can look forward to a possible impeachment. Even if there's not removal, it could stop Trump from being able to run for office again, and it would stop J.D. Vance from being able to run for office again. And let's just keep on this line of thought, because we need to talk about something else that dropped right now. And we are talking about Trump's struggling approval rating, right? And his numbers. I talked about that last stream, and we just covered what Henry Enton was talking about in Iowa. If Trump is having to go to Iowa, he's having a campaign in Iowa and try and convince these people that, oh, don't worry, Iowans, your groceries have come down. Democrats might tell you that groceries are too expensive, but they're lying to you. They're lying to you. Groceries have come down, even though we all know that groceries haven't come down. We're going to do the next segment, because I think this is going to be something that is the knife that continues to twist and continues to harm Trump going into the midterms. And this is something that I'm telling you right now. If you are on the left, if you're a Democrat, if you're a liberal, and you want the madness to end, and you want us to take the midterms, do not let this go. Never stop talking about it, and keep throwing it back in their face. We are now going to move on to talk about the Epstein files. So, for those of you that don't know, I covered this before. There were 3 million pages. All right, that's not a exaggeration. That's not, I did not misspeak there. I did not mean 3 million words. I mean, there were 3 million pages worth of Epstein files that were not released after the government had said that they had released all the files. Now, before we start digging into some of this stuff that came out, and I mean, some of this stuff is shocking. It is awful. I want to point out something and highlight this. First of all, they had to pass the Epstein Act in order to, as a law, in order to get Trump to even release this. Trump has dragged his feet and attempted to not release this as much as possible. He's had DOJ lawyers going through it, trying to remove him out of it as much as possible. They lied and said that the Epstein files didn't exist at all. And then they said that the Epstein files do exist because Pam Bondi had said that she had them on her desk and that they're going to release them. But it turns out that the Epstein files are a Democratic hoax. I am saying this because I feel like they're using inferences here. Obviously, this information is damaging to Trump. And I think that there's a lot more here, and we should take this very serious because of the extent that they've gone to cover this up and hide it. The 3 million pages number, I want to highlight because Chuck Schumer had tweeted something out earlier, and I thought it was interesting. Even though I don't like Chuck Schumer, whatever, put that aside. He was right about this. At one point during their investigation, they said that they had all 6 million pages of the Epstein files. The DOJ said that there were 6 million pages. they initially released something like 20,000, you know, emails and everything else involving it. And now they're saying that, well, they're going to release the rest of it, which is 3 million. So if they released 3 million and several, like tens of thousands, where are the other 3 million pages? And the other 3 million pages were supposed to be released not with no redactions. That's per the law that they passed. Released with no redactions and no protecting the perpetrators. So the perpetrators should be listed. That's what they said. Do not protect any perpetrators. Well, if you notice, and what I pulled up here, there's a curious thing of what's included on some of these pages, isn't there? Giant black bars of redaction. So even after they were ordered by law to release these without redactions, there are still redactions all over this. Yeah, oh God, holy mother of incrimination. Yeah, 100%. Like, I cannot tell you how real this is, all right? This is genuinely one of the most shocking, one of the most prolific cases of child abuse, of SA, of kids, of the Epstein class, ultra wealthy people paying to go to private islands to abuse these people. Pizzagate has nothing on the Epstein files. The actual real issue that Alex Jones kept going on and on and on about, all the stuff that Alex Jones talked about, we have the authentic thing here in black and white, okay? These are real victims that have come forward. These are real testimonies. We have corroborating evidence from the 90s and earlier, all the way through the 2000s, and all the way up until now. And some of this stuff that I'm telling you is going to sound like I'm making it up because it sounds so outlandish, but I promise you the connections here are true. Because when you hear some of this, you're just going to say, this can't be real. Like, no one would be this cartoonishly villainous. And like, this would be like if you wrote a book to write the most evil group of people you can imagine, I don't think you could come up with people that are much more evil and corrupt than what's going on. And when I say evil here, I mean like, wicked, abusive, users, they harm people, murder people. It's all included in these files. So let's just go through. It's going to take, I'm breaking this news right now, and I'm going to give you the information that, like, just me looking through this over a few hours, what I've been able to pull from it, because there is so much information. It's 3 million pages worth of stuff, and news agencies are telling it's going to take them days to go through it, right? And they have entire teams of people to go through this. I'm just going to read some of the stuff here, okay? So the right column, the reason why it's divided off the way that is, hold on, let me make it a little bit smaller so y'all can fully see this because of my chat window. I'm going to move it over here. There we go. All right. So the reason why you see that bar right here in the middle of this and just got names over there, the left is a description of what happened at the events. The divided line right here are the people that were involved with it. So now we've got that, right? We got Jeffrey Epstein, Elon Musk, Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka, Eric Trump, Alan Dershowitz, which was a lawyer for Trump. We got Bob Shapiro and Ghislaine Maxwell. So it says, Donald Trump, the president, had parties at Mar-a-Lago called Calendar Girls. Jeffrey Epstein would bring the children in, and Trump would auction them off. He measured the children's vulva and vaginas by entering a finger and rated the children on tightness. The guests were elder men and included Elon Musk. Don Jr. Trump, Ivanka Trump, and Eric Trump were there. Attorney Alan Dershowitz was also there with attorney Bob Shapiro. We were taken in rooms, forced to give oral sex to Donald Trump, forced to allow them to penetrate us. I was 13 years old when Donald Trump raped me. Ghislaine Maxwell was also present. It's one testimony. Brace yourself, because this is going to be really heavy. So let's go through some of the others here, okay? Unidentified female friend was forced to perform oral sex on President Trump approximately 35 years ago in New Jersey. The friend told Alexis that she was approximately 13 to 14 years old when this occurred. And the friend allegedly bit Trump while performing oral sex. The friend was allegedly hit in the face after she left about biting him. The friend said she was also abused by Epstein. We need to see over and over and over, okay? Reported that she has a friend who was a personal assistant to Epstein in Florida from 86 until 91 or 2. And this friend shared some of the names of the guests at Epstein's parties, which included Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. So we're going to just see over and over and over again that Donald Trump is involved in this. It's just unbelievable. All right. So this caller stated that Oren raped her best friend, and a third brother, Tal, raped a 14-year-old girl. And again, redacted here. Caller named other individuals involved in big orgy parties with her, other young girls, and older Victoria's Secret models, including, once again, Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. So you might be saying, oh, why didn't they go to the police? Why wouldn't they say anything? Why wouldn't they just go and tell people about this? Okay. Online complaint reported that she was a victim and witness to a sex trafficking ring at the Trump golf course in Rancho Palos Verdes, California, between 95 and 96. Reported that Ghislaine Maxwell was working as the madam and broker for sex parties, clients of whom included Epstein, Robin Leach, and Donald Trump. Complainant reported participating in orgies and that some girls went missing. Rumored to have been murdered and buried at the facility. The complainant reported being threatened by Trump's then head of security that if she ever talked of what went on there or who she was, she would, quote, end up as fertilizer for the back 9 holes like the other cunts. This is interesting right here. If you know where Donald Trump had one of his wives buried, for those of you that don't know, Trump had one of his ex-wives buried on one of his golf courses. So I find that just an interesting tidbit that seems like it ties with this, right? Because we've got somebody who says his head of security threatened to bury them on the golf course. And then Trump ended up actually having his ex-wife buried on his golf course. Just seeing a lot of corroboration, right? Complainant claims to have video of high-profile sex parties dealing with cartels and having witnessed Robin Leach strangle a young girl to death at one of the parties. There's it's so bad. Okay, so a complainant reported that his ex-girlfriend were victims of Epstein's, and one of them was murdered. While working as a limousine driver, the complainant recalled picking up Trump in 95 to take him to Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. During that ride, the complainant recalled some of the things that Trump spoke about on his cell phone were very concerning, and describing being, quote, a few seconds from pulling the limousine over on the median and within a few seconds of pulling him out of the car and hurting him due to some of the things that he was saying. The complainant noted that Trump repeatedly stated the name Jeffrey while on the phone, and one of the complainant's ex-girlfriends told complainant that Trump had raped her, as did Epstein. It just goes on and on and on. We have another one. The caller provided information to reference prior civil case from 13 years ago that involved Trump and mentioned Jeffrey Epstein with a minor. So we have somebody calling in extra details. We have people calling in to follow up with NYPD officer regarding her previous tip, reporting that she was forced to perform oral sex acts when she was 13 years old and pregnant in 1984. The complainant also reported there were high-profile individuals involved in her sex trafficking and murdering and disposal of her newborn daughter. The complainant reported Donald Trump participated regularly in paying money to force her to perform sex acts with him, and alleged Trump was present when her uncle murdered her newborn child. This stuff, as I said, is unbelievably evil. And this is just getting into some of this. Now, let's just keep going over ties, because we know that in the early 90s, Donald Trump was on party boats with this guy named John Casablancas. John Casablancas was later on tried and convicted for sex trafficking underage girls. We know that that happened. We know that Donald Trump has gone on the Howard Stern show, and he talked about walking in purposefully to teenage girls that were getting undressed and changing for his beauty pageants and his modeling agency. By the way, John Casablancas also ran a modeling agency, which is how he was sex trafficking those younger girls. And one of the other associates that Trump had sex trafficked children via these beauty pageants. And wouldn't you know that at Mar-a-Lago, Trump held beauty pageants with Jeffrey Epstein, with it being just him and Epstein as the only judges present for it. And Epstein would go on later to claim that he developed his idea of having modeling agencies to lure women in and capture people and sex trafficking as having been inspired by Donald Trump, who was friends with John Casablancas, who did the exact same thing. When I say friends, I don't mean like a red yarn, board on the wall. I mean, Donald Trump was reported being on the Spirit, I think it was the Spirit of New York, at Casablancas's parties with him. There's photos of them, palling around together, and there's multiple testimonies of witnesses there and young women corroborating that Trump was there with Casablancas. This is not like, oh, I'm just telling you that, like, this is my idea or my own personal hypothesis. No, this is factual. We have the evidence for it. There's plenty of corroborating evidence. We have witnesses. We know that this happened. These people were arrested and prosecuted. This isn't just, there are some people that claim this. I want to play a video real quick. And this video is from, we'll get to it real quick. So if y'all are not familiar, there's this guy named Lutnick. Okay. He is currently our Secretary of Commerce. All right. I'm not making this up. This guy is the United States Secretary of Commerce appointed by Trump. Okay. A Trump appointee high up in his administration. And what did this guy have to say about Jeffrey Epstein and meeting him? Here's an interview that he did. And he was talking about meeting Epstein. And I'll resize it once again. I know that my chat tends to like cut some of this stuff off, so that we can at least like hear what he has to say.
He was your neighbor for 10 years. How well did you know him?
All right. So
He's talking about Epstein
in number 11 and he lives in number 9.
Right.
So we renovate, we buy our house, and our house is pigeons and mice.
Right.
Okay. It was derelict.
Right.
So we rebuild our house. We move in 2005. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein is arrested in like 2008, I think. So
all right. I told y'all before that when you go through these things, and I'm going to let it play through. I'm not going to be like a pause Stacy or something like that. Pause champ. I want to point out here that when it comes to Epstein, and this is like if you are a leftist, liberal, conservative, whatever, if you care about the truth of this, when they tell you dates, you need to pay attention, because those dates create a timeline. And if you put it all together on one singular timeline of the events that have happened, all these things will make a lot more sense to you. Because what conservatives like to do is say the Howard Stern thing is taken out of context. The Billy Bush video of Trump saying that he doesn't even, when he sees a beautiful woman, he doesn't even wait. He just grabs him by the pussy. If you take those things and isolate them, then Trump can say, oh, it's just locker room talk. It's just locker room talk. Don't worry about it. But when you take it all within context, and then you look and map it out on a timeline of he was on Howard Stern's show and said that he just walked in on these teenage girls that were naked, some of them as young as 14 and 15. And he told Howard Stern, you can just do that. You can get away with it because I own the place. So I get to go in there and just say, oh, I'm doing a surprise inspection. And they laughed it off and yucked it up at the time. And Howard Stern had responded to him with mimicking like a foreign accent, because a lot of the women that were being trafficked here, a lot of them were migrants, and they would like pull their green cards or pull their passports to abduct them. That's how they managed to traffic a lot of these people. And Stern jokes mimicking, and I'm just doing this off of memory, so I'm not going to give you the exact quote, but he basically mimics a migrant person and is saying like, oh, this is just how we say like hello in my country type of thing. And then Trump, laughing, joking back, says, oh, in my country, we say hello, with vaginas, is what Trump said to Stern. So he's already joking about looking at the genitalia of women or asking women to show their genitalia with Howard Stern. Now, take that into context with what we know about some of these girls that had reported him walking in nude at beauty pageants. And again, you can take any one of these people's stories, and then conservatives will say, oh, but somebody else that was there said that they didn't see Trump. They didn't see him do it. There is a Wikipedia page where you can go and just look at the sexual allegations against Trump. And there are numerous women that participated in those beauty pageants on that site. And you can see their testimony over and over and over again. There's always going to be some people like, well, I didn't see him. But there are plenty, there's dozens of these girls that said that they saw him doing this. And then we have Trump admitted that he did it on Howard Stern. So this isn't just, well, these women said this and other girls were saying that they didn't see him do it. We have him admitting himself that he did that on Howard Stern. Then we go and you look at the Billy Bush tape, and he says when he sees a pretty woman, he just starts kissing her. He just grabs him by the pussy. That he tried to play off as locker room talk up until what? We had the E. Jean Carroll case, in which case E. Jean Carroll alleged that Trump did to her exactly what he said he does to Billy Bush. She claimed that he just pushed her up against the wall, grabbed her, and inserted a digit into her body, just like, which matches the other reports of these earlier victims that are saying that he was basically like using a finger to gauge whether he wanted to hook up with them or not. So this is like a long pattern of behavior that we're seeing here. And I don't believe that it's just coincidental that Trump is just surrounded by pedophiles continuously. And there's tons of victims that have all talked about being assaulted by this guy, molested by him, or whatever else. And on one hand, you can say, well, these are all just allegations, because that's what I can see conservatives doing. They say, oh, so now you're saying that allegations mean that you did something. I'm saying there's overwhelming corroborating evidence that this guy participated in this, and he was found guilty with E. Jean Carroll's case of sexual assault. And the only reason why they didn't call it rape was because in New York, by a technicality, New York law does not label, inserting something into someone besides a penis as rape. So on a technicality, it's sexual assault. But as the judge himself in that case said, if you went anywhere else in the country, it's rape. That's what they would call that exact same charge. So he was found guilty of rape and defamation against E. Jean Carroll. And we can see with Trump's cult that he has and the people that surrounded him, that Trump routinely had people around him that would threaten and intimidate people into silence or threaten their families. Now, and he engaged in gag orders all the time. He also paid large sums of money to some of these women that are undisclosed amounts. And some of them weren't able to give testimony because they accepted the payout from him. That is factual. We know we have the legal proceedings from that. That's all factual. So when you put all this together, you start to get a better picture and idea. So let's keep in mind what I said about the timeline. So he's saying in 2005, he moved in and all this stuff. And then Epstein was convicted later in 2006. Okay. So he's trying to say that he went over there and met him before any of this stuff was out. Okay. And let's pay attention to what he says.
Right. So knock on the door. His assistant on like a Saturday says, Mr. Epstein, your neighbor would like to invite you over for coffee. So my wife and I go next door. We walk the 7 steps,
yes,
right, to the next house for coffee. We share a wall, right. So it's in New York City. So he invites us in. We have coffee in this, and he says, "Do you want a tour?" We said, "Great,
interesting."
He's got a really big house.
Every room you went into.
He's got. Well, I'll tell you. So his house is like super big, really wide, and so he gives me a tour in the living room, big living room, and then across from it is double doors. I assume it's the dining room.
Yeah.
And he opens the doors, and there's a massage table in the middle of the room.
Ooh.
And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, "Massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage?" And he says, "Every day." And then he gets weirdly close to me.
Ooh.
And he says, "And the right kind of massage."
Ooh.
Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, "I'm sorry, we have to go." And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
Really?
So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
Okay. So now you have it. He wasn't there. Social. Oh, I know, Shane. There's so much information here, and I'm sorry for bouncing all over the place. I'm just trying to arm y'all with as much knowledge on this as possible. And if you ever verify everything that I say, you can Google John Casablancas and the New York stuff. You can look into all of this. You can look into the Howard Stern interview. Like I said, there's a good Wikipedia page that's literally there's an entire wiki on the sexual crimes of Donald Trump. You can look up sexual allegations against Trump wiki and it will pull it up. Just to give you an idea about how prolific this is. This is not like a stub that you see on Wikipedia. You have to scroll and scroll and scroll through everything that happened because there's so much of it. Now remember, Trump appointed this guy the Secretary of Commerce, okay? In his current administration right now. And this guy says, no, thanks, Kyle. I appreciate y'all too. He says that he never met him again, not socially, not for philanthropy, for nothing, right? For nada. Never met Epstein again. So give me 1 second. Huh. Wait. What's this? So he never met him again. Not socially, not with philanthropy, with nothing, okay? Let me size this so y'all can see it. All right. So this is from Leslie Groff to Howard Lutnick. All right. And we can see that the date of it is Friday, December 2012. So this is 6 years after Epstein was arrested. Okay. And all this stuff was first coming out. Now you might say, well, who the hell is Leslie Groff? I'm going to pull up this little helpful chart here that New York Times put together for us. You can see Jeffrey Epstein is right here. This is a list of his accomplices. Notice that Donald Trump, this is inner circle. There's people that have been redacted, which, none of this is supposed to be redacted. Once again, illegally redacted. But Donald Trump is not on here at all, right? He's missing, and we know that he was his best friend for 15 years. But let's just put that aside for a second. I want you to pay attention to this woman right here, all right? And to the bottom left of Epstein with that big smiling face, this blonde over here. That's Leslie Groff. She is an employee of Epstein, all right? This is his inner circle. So these are the people that were like the closest to him in the organization. I just wanted to point out the tie because I want this to make as much sense as possible, and we're keeping with the timeline. So Lutnick says that they met in 2005, and that's when the massage thing happened. That's when he said, oh, I'm never meeting this guy. He's totally creepy. We got to get out of here. And he leaves. Epstein is convicted or arrested initially in 2006. So Lutnick claims that they never met again, never did anything, not socially, nothing. All right. So why do we have an email now from Leslie Groff? That is a person, that is that assistant that is within Epstein's inner circle, one of the closest people to Epstein. This is from 2012, so keeping track of this. It says, hi, Matthew and Candace. So this is to Howard Lutnick and his wife. Might you be able to give blank a few more details? Again, none of this is supposed to be redacted, but it's still redacted. Give so-and-so a few more details regarding lunch this Sunday. Do you know if it will be just Howard and his wife? Any kids along? Will they arrive at Jeffrey Epstein's island via their boat? And around what time is good for them? If you could pass along when you know, that would be great. There are CCs here. Leslie, thanks, Leslie. Okay. If he never met him again, never spoke with him, like socially they never met, they never did anything with philanthropy, they never did business. That's what Lutnick said in the interview when he was asked about Epstein. But now we know that he's arriving on Epstein's island via their boat. Now, just to make sure that, that y'all have all the information that you could possibly have, there's like a Greater St. James Island and Little St. James Island. Those are the islands that Epstein had where most of the abuse took place, with the Little St. James Island being like the epicenter of his sex trafficking and abuse and all this stuff. So now we have Lutnick, who Trump appointed as part of his administration, literally having gone to Epstein's island. It just says Jeffrey Epstein's island. It doesn't specify in the email whether it was the Greater St. James or the lesser. But at the end of the day, I feel like this 100% is something that that needs to be reviewed. This guy needs to be investigated. Why did Trump appoint this guy? Went after, and this guy's been lying about his relationship with Epstein. Why is he lying about his relationship to Epstein? Why did he lie about going to the island? Trump also says that he threw Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago and banned him. And there's been speculation since then about why that happened, because Trump would go on to talk about, Epstein stole a girl from him. And that was Virginia Jeffrey. So what does he mean by he stole a girl from him? She was working at Mar-a-Lago, and then Trump ended up essentially giving her over to Epstein, and then she ended up being sex trafficked by Epstein and Maxwell. We find out later on that a lot of the girls that were sex trafficked were taken out of Mar-a-Lago. We know that the security guy, head of security, when Trump and Epstein were doing their beauty pageant at Mar-a-Lago, and it was only the two of them as the judges, the head of security, this is back in 05, 04, was saying that or maybe it was even 2002, was telling Trump that he was not comfortable with the situation and that Trump knows about Epstein's reputation, and therefore this guy's not comfortable doing security for the event. Now, the reason why I mention that is because we can go back to the 90s when Trump was palling around with Casablancas, who's also a known pedophile and a sex trafficker. We know that he was palling around with Epstein all the way up to even like in the early 2000s, doing beauty pageants at Mar-a-Lago, where it's just the two of them as the judges for these underage girls. Well, we know that in 06, it was 06, 08, Epstein ends up being arrested, initially prosecuted. What a lot of people don't know is that Donald Trump offered Jeffrey Epstein a position in his government in his first term. Did y'all know that? So it's just unreal, because Trump is like, oh, well, after he got thrown out, after they weren't, friends anymore because of the Mar-a-Lago stuff and the Guthrie stuff, that, he never talked with him. They weren't friends anymore, whatever. Okay. Why would you have offered this? Right now, we know, some of the other connections that Epstein had. We know that Epstein was friends with powerful people that could harm people and, make them disappear. Some of the people that testified and made the accusations in those reports I read to you earlier, some of them essentially gave their reports and then essentially vanished, with one of them having their remains been found later on, as, clearly they were murdered. We know that Israel blackmailed Bill Clinton with material that Jeffrey Epstein had produced. I just want to show you this as well, because there's a lot of people, there's a whole Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent claim, and a lot of people laugh it off and they'll say, oh, you're just being paranoid. This must just be like your anti-Israel hatred or whatever. Well, Bill Clinton was blackmailed with material that Jeffrey Epstein had on him by Israel. Like, we know this happened. This is documented. And then we end up having this. This message is Jeffrey Epstein, a smiley face. He asked the former Israeli PM, Ehud Barak, not that Barak, or Barak, to clarify that he does not work for Mossad, in a meeting with a senior Qatari official, or investment official. All right. So this is Epstein talking to the former PM of Israel, saying, you should make it clear that I do not work for Mossad, with a smiley face on the end of it there. And if you were wondering about this guy, let's take a look at something else here. Because it just gets worse. Epstein had a close relationship with this guy. And guess who shows up in those Epstein files? I'll give you one guess. Look. He literally, not only did he have close ties with Epstein, where you can see photos of them together, he literally stayed at an Epstein-owned New York apartment. Literally. This is the former Prime Minister of Israel, and his wife stayed in his apartment multiple times. Multiple times. All right, and a separate email exchange from his assistant, Leslie Groff. There's Groff once again. Groff writes that she'll contact Pearl about switching out the cable box in their apartment for an Apple TV setup. They were close. Who else is in some of these Epstein files that just leaked? How about the man baby himself? How about Elon Musk? Elon Musk is in the files as well. Okay. So he said last year that he refused offers to go to Epstein's island. But some of the new leaks show that Musk actually tried to coordinate visits. This man is so pathetic that he was aware of the charges against Epstein from before. He approached Epstein trying to go to Epstein's island. Okay. Musk exchanged multiple emails with Epstein to coordinate trips to one of Epstein's Caribbean islands, according to the documents. Okay. So here you go. Here's Epstein and Musk directly talking. So this is to Jeffrey Epstein in 2012. Epstein asks him, how many people will you be for the heli to island? So in the helicopter. And Musk says that it's just Tallulah and me. And what night/day will the wildest party on our island? All right. So it says that Musk had claimed that he previously rebuffed attempts from Epstein to get him to visit one of the two islands that were owned. All right. That's Great St. James and Little St. James in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I gave y'all information earlier. Little St. James is the epicenter of the abuse of women and drugs. All right. So now we know that the communications is Musk essentially trying to get to the island. All right. So then on December 13th, 2013, Musk emailed Epstein, will be in the BVI/St. Bart's area over the holidays. Is there a good time to visit? Epstein responded 2 days later and said at the beginning of the new year would be a good, adding always space for you. On Christmas Day, Epstein said in another email, the 2 or 3 would be perfect. I will come and get you. Musk responded that he would need to fly back to Los Angeles on the night of January 2nd before saying that he could push his departure back a day. When should we head to your island on the 2nd? Musk asked. Then during their explosive feud last year, Musk suggested that President Trump had slowed the rollout of the Epstein files because the president's name was in them. That was part of the breakdown between the president and a man who had been one of his closest advisors. Once again, we have the Epstein class billionaires, Elon Musk, who purchased Twitter, who absolutely is probably going to censor disinformation, was on Epstein's island, visited it multiple times according to his the email chain, or at least attempted to visit it. And then he tried to gain political capital by saying that, well, he had never gone out there. Epstein offered him to go out there, but he never went out there. He never actually did that. And as far as I can tell, 100% top down, these people are all in bed together, but maybe literally. Okay, like they want to tell you that that migrants are your enemy. They want to tell you that trans people and LGBT people are the enemy. Trump keeps calling us like the enemy from within, and says that leftists and people that support unions and people that have solidarity together and fight for workers' rights, that we are your enemies. They try to spread fear about us, and they will allow people to post all across their social media platforms that LGBT people are all predators, and that they try to paint us as pederasts, and like we're going to go around buggering children and stuff like that. And then what do we find over and over and over again. It's the Epstein class. It's the billionaires that literally own islands where this stuff was happening. And they all go to the same country clubs together. They all go golfing together, and they are all abusing children together. Yeah, Shane says there's no class salary like the elite. It's a big club and you ain't in it. Yeah, classic words from George Carlin right there. And that's 100% true. All right. We're not in that club. They are trying to turn attention away from them and push it off on innocent people that have nothing to do with any of this. But if you want to know, like if you're a Pizzagate fan, if you're an Alex Jones fan, and you got wrapped up in that Bohemian Grove crap, and you believed in the skull and bones and all this other shit like that, look at Epstein's Island, look at the people associated with him, the John Casablancas, the Donald Trumps. That is who was actually running these organizations. Those are the people that are actually responsible for this. When you look at the Catholic Church, is it your average, everyday Catholic that just goes to Mass on Sunday and is taking care of his family? Is that the person that moves these pederast priests from one parish to another? No. It's the leadership of the church. It's the people that have all the money. It's the people that live in the gold Vatican-plated city, okay? That's who moves around these pederast priests. And we have tens of thousands of cases of children being abused by them. And then we have Republican lawmakers trying to offer them shelter by passing laws in states saying that as long as they marry the kid and they have the parents' permission, then it doesn't count as molestation. Those are the laws that we should be targeting to overturn it if we actually care about what's happening to these kids. If we actually want to know what's in the Epstein files and we want it completely unredacted, all right? The Epstein law that was passed said that those documents were supposed to be released with no redactions to protect the perpetrators. And what do we have in those documents? A lot of the perpetrators are still redacted. Why? If we all agree that those who, even Marjorie Taylor Greene, saw through this and realized that all the women that were coming forward saying that they were abused by these men, that they were abused by Epstein and his entire group of people, even she realized that the reason why this isn't being released, the reason why this is redacted, is because of Donald Trump. At the end of the day, he is he's the cornerstone. He's the piece that's holding this all together. Like Epstein may have been the glue holding it all together. Trump is literally the single person that is holding back the dam of information. He's trying to stop you from viewing the information. He's trying to make sure it's all redacted, or that who knows how many files we're missing. Is it just 3 million pages, or is it the 6 million pages they said before? Why did the number change from 6 to 3? That seems like a huge, look, I might not be an investigative reporter, okay? I might be somebody that, dropped out of college, but even I can tell you that 6 million is a hell of a lot more than 3 million. And I would like to know, where are those missing pages? But as long as you keep electing people like Donald Trump, as long as you keep electing the Epstein class, okay, and putting them in power, your children will be victimized by these people. There will still be victims of trafficking like this that are protected from the president's office all the way down. And with what happened with Clinton, and now we know that the Israel former PM was also involved in this, and you have Epstein saying like, hey, can you do me a favor and can you let these investors from Qatar know that like I'm not a Mossad agent? Tee-hee-hee-hee. Like it's transparent. These are the most comically evil people in history. Like you would have to go back to the 1930s to find worldwide crime that's as bad as this. This is literally Donald Trump and Epstein and his group. They might be the criminals of the century, unironically, at least as far as in the West, the amount of, just the sheer volume of sex trafficking and like influencing governments and changing actual policy And we have like, it's like a pedophile regime, right? The Secretary of Commerce went to Epstein's Island. Why do you lie about that? But you have Donald Trump trying to appoint Epstein to a position in his first term. All right, we don't know what all is going to come out. But I can tell you right now that if we are not careful, and this is just a callback to the Don Lemon segment, okay? If we are not careful and we do not fight on every single front to preserve our free speech, do not let them say that, oh, we're going to curtail free speech to protect ICE. We just need to protect our law enforcement by getting rid of free speech, okay? You can look at other countries and see exactly what happened to them as they whittled away their free speech. Trump would curtail free speech in order to protect the Epstein files. Trump would curtail free speech to protect the other pedophiles. If they had it their way, people like John Casablancas would never have been prosecuted, would never have gone to jail. And they've just been bamboozling so many people in this country. Do not let this story die. I'm sure there's way more information out there about it than what I've reported to you right now, because I'm telling you, I haven't looked through those 3 million pages. Stuff's going to be coming out and leaking about this for the next like probably couple of months. People are going to be talking about it. I'm telling you, don't let it die. And one last thing that I want to touch on, and I've been streaming for about 2 hours now. So I'm going to make this probably the last thing. I'm just going to touch on this a little bit because this goes along with the free speech stuff that we've been talking about and everything else. I don't know how many of you are aware or not, but Benjamin Netanyahu, like 4 to 5 months ago, met with content creators like from various platforms and made the case that Israel should purchase social media platforms in the same way that Musk has purchased Twitter. And now we just had Oracle is a major shareholder in purchasing TikTok. Larry Ellison and these people. All right, these are all like Trump adjacent friends. They're all glad handing together. You think that they're not going to go and try and censor YouTube? Right? We need these platforms to be independent. And I agree with what Lemon was saying. We need to heavily pressure CNN and all these other networks to let them say what they want to say. Well, it's so weird. It's your message isn't showing up, Shane. I can see it on the stream. You have to go back to the 1930s. You might disagree. I think this type of corruption is endemic in the world. MAGA is the reason this came out. Otherwise, it would have been hidden. I don't know if I agree with that. Like, I would say, well, I did specify in the West, because I think worldwide, like, there's obvious other, like, genocides and tragedies and shit going on right now. Like, we can just look at with Israel. But to tell, like, this amount of sex trafficking by people over here in the West, I don't imagine that there's much worse traffickers in Canada or South America. Like the extent that this has gone on for and the power these men have wielded is incredible. We literally have a pedophile sex trafficking rapist as the president of the West, one of the arguably the most powerful man in the world. I don't think there's anything like, I don't think like other, traffickers and preterists and pederasts, I don't think any of them ever had the nuke launch codes. Not in the West. It's just wild. But I think it's ironic that Trump beat the drum on this because he was aware of these files from being president the first time. And he went on and on and on about this. And release it. Then he wins its second term and he didn't want to release it. And we all know why. It's transparently obvious why. I don't feel like I should have to tell you why. Well, yeah, well, I mean, Clinton too, right? If Clinton's involved in this, as like those witnesses seem to indicate, prosecute him. I'm not a Democrat. I don't know why we'd be like, oh well, you know, if it's a Democrat, you know, that might be a different story. No. Prosecute him. Prosecute him. They're Clinton right now, Hillary and Bill, by the way, if you're not aware of this, they're being held in contempt of court for refusing to testify about the Epstein files. They're already being held in contempt. They might it's being referred now for criminal charges. You understand? Bill Clinton is facing criminal charges now on this for refusing to testify. So we might, for the first time, see a former president be arrested and go to jail, and Bill Clinton. It'll just be a shame if the midterms come and we don't throw these fucking Republicans out that are protecting the pedophile in chief that we have, so that we can then have him prosecuted, charged, and arrested. And if his children were involved, Don Jr., arrest him too. There's also Bannon, Steve Bannon. I saw him in there, and people are talking about being afraid to go after him because of the powerful friends that he has. All of them. All of them. And I agree with you. Fuck the Clintons. I'm not a Democrat. I hate liberal fucking politics. And if they don't testify, if they will not come forward to, testify, put them in contempt. Put them in jail. I don't care. I supported putting Kim Davis in jail for not issuing gay marriage licenses when that was the law of the land, and she wouldn't even let people in her office sign them over. If I support putting a politician in prison because they did not sign licenses, you bet your ass I support putting the Clintons in prison if they don't, if they're not going to testify. If they're held in contempt of court and they are protecting pedophiles and they are protecting people that committed serious crimes like this, jail. Testify, get a plea deal, or go to jail. That's as easy as it. No one should be above the law. I don't know why this is difficult for people to understand. On the right, they act like, oh no, it'd be such a travesty to put the president in jail. I want to throw his ass out right now. What are you talking about? No one is above the law. It's that easy. But if you care about your free speech and you care about maintaining it, please like the stream and share the stream and help people see this. I know that, not all of my streams are, covering such serious topics or whatever, but I feel like I did a pretty decent job with this. I hope people actually get to see it. I'll also cut the segment and make it into a standalone video so they don't have to watch the entire 2-hour stream, just see me talking about it for like 40 minutes. But last but not least, Netanyahu said that Israel should be looking to purchase social media. All right. And this is what Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks. I don't agree with him on everything. I know that, he said problematic shit in the past. I know that he's an asshole, but he's right about this.
Today said that Israel's got to get better.
This is from 5 months ago.
Control of social media algorithms. Uh-oh. Okay. So this guy, of course, wants to censor any criticism of Israel. He's just always the same thing. Oh, everybody's anti-Semitic. If you guys love Jews, you would want me to commit a genocide. No, brother, I do love Jews. They've been great to me all throughout my life, okay? And I have Jewish family. So, no, loving them has nothing to do with loving your stupid genocide, you terrorist freak, okay? So he's ruining the name of Israel, obviously. If you're still supporting his government now, you idiot. Not only are you a monster for supporting a genocide and not caring about those Palestinians at all, but on top of that, you think this helps Israel? Who's so monumentally stupid that they think this helps Israel? No, the whole world now hates Israel. And if you think, oh, it's no big deal. All right, then later you'll say, it's the biggest deal. Oh, everybody's an anti-Semite. No, people weren't anti-Semites all throughout the world, all trying to kill all the Jews, etc., except in your paranoid fantasies until now, okay? So, yes, there's been terrible anti-Semitism before in the history of the world, but at this point, before Israel went nuts and started going genocidal on the Palestinians, unfortunately, way too many people supported the government of Israel as they did a brutal occupation.
Right. And we were trying to cover this before. The difference in the people versus a government, and the entire thing of like, oh, if you criticize Israel, then you're anti-Semitic. Do you think that if Netanyahu had his way and Jewish billionaires go and purchase social media and specifically just to censor the topic of Israel, do you think that you'd be able to go and talk about like Epstein? What if Trump paid some of those same billionaires to, you know, pull stuff out of the algorithm or bury it? We've already seen what happened with TikTok once they bought it and the censorship that went on TikTok. So I also agree with Chink here that like, obviously you can criticize the government without criticizing the people. I am not anti-Semitic. I do not despise Jewish people or dislike Jewish people. I don't even want to bother to entertain that. Okay. I have never hated Jews. I have no problem with Jewish people. I have a problem with the government of Israel. And with Netanyahu talking about purchasing social media, obviously because he thinks that they need to have social media and control over it in order to fight the next battle, to fight social media. I mean, what does that mean? Well, fighting social media means that he wants to control what you can say and ultimately what you can think. Because if you even apparently think that a government committing a genocide is bad, but you're not tying that to that ethnic group, like let's say that you think that what's going on in Russia is terrible and that Russia should not have gone to war with Ukraine and what Russia is doing is terrible, no one's going to ask you, well, wait, does that mean that you want to wipe out all Russians as an ethnicity? No, no one would ask that question. That'd be a stupid question to ask as a follow-up. It's very obvious that you could not support the government of Russia without despising every single ethnic Russian. But Netanyahu wants to pretend that if you oppose him and his genocidal regime, then that must mean that you hate every single Jewish person ethnically. That's obviously not the case. But at the end of the day, like, we are going to have to pressure companies not to sell out to foreign entities like this. And if they do get bought up, such as like Musk buying Twitter, we are going to have to either abandon those platforms and just continue moving to other free speech platforms, or using new platforms and new social media that is raised. Therefore, you know, spending billions to purchase it ends up becoming like a waste of their money. I don't know what the future is going to look like, but censorship is going to be like obviously a huge problem. It's already a problem on several sites. Like I don't even bother to stream on a lot of sites because I know that just my political videos would end up getting me struck or taken down. I know, like on TikTok, for instance, if you make videos and talk about being trans and talk about trans issues a lot, the algorithm didn't like that either. So at the end of the day, we have to safeguard our institutions. We have to fight for the right to keep our First Amendment and for free speech. And for as long as I can, I will remain here on this platform, making videos, covering the news, telling you things that I found important, you know, over the last day or two, things that I think that you should know about. And hopefully I could offer you some information and entertainment while giving you that information. But it's been going on for a while. Thank y'all for being here for the stream. I love y'all so much, and I will see y'all